Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
I think that going vegan is a win-win-win. It's good for the environment, it's good for animals, it's good for your health, and all of that feeds into it's good spiritually.
Please continue watching to find out more.
The horrific conditions of non-human animals, especially in the food industry, are unimaginable. Not only do they suffer in the physical sense, but the psychological torment they had to endure is simply unforgivable. Lila Marquez, vegan.
Apa Kabar means "how are you" in Malay, the official language of Cocos Islands. I am Oliana. The faithful people of Cocos Islands are impressed with your love and kindness to all beings. May your days be filled with joy and happiness so you can quickly advance in the spiritual path. Welcome to Vegan for World Peace, interview with the Reverend Rabbi Donn Gross, Vegan, Part 2 of 2.
Veganism is something that everyone can rally around and come together. It's such a winning solution to so many of humanity's ills, whether it's climate change, whether it's world peace, when we can rally around a positive thing and come together and put down our differences. Because we share such an important aspect of our belief and living. Veganism, it's such a win. And when we all come to that realization, there's really going to be a world of peace.
These are the earnest words of Rabbi Donn Gross on veganism. Before his unforeseen spiritual awakening, Reverend Rabbi Donn Gross was a vegetarian businessman who had no idea that he would someday become a religious leader. However, a series of unfortunate personal events turned his life toward God. Reverend Rabbi Donn Gross first began by researching food's impact on health, which subsequently transformed him into a vegan. After that, the Reverend started his rabbinic study and later opened Congregation Bet David, the first vegan synagogue or shul, Jewish house of worship in the United States. Although he started with minimal cooking knowledge, heaven marvelously gifted the rabbi with excellent gourmet skills for his Meals to Heal, a community-focused vegan catering service. With all these miracles and more, the Reverend Rabbi Donn Gross now joyfully dedicates his life to God by promoting veganism. Peaceful viewers, in today's episode, the Reverend Rabbi Donn Gross will share various spiritual topics ranging from animal people, ego, and vegan business to music. Let us begin with insights into the roles of animal people on this beautiful planet.
So we know from history that animals were people's helpers. They worked the fields, they transported, they were people's lawnmowers and cars and did everything. But in the Jewish law, the animals rest on the Sabbath. You're not allowed to have your animal plow the field. Even animals rested on the Sabbath. When you sat down to eat, you had to, according to Jewish law, feed your animal first. You're not allowed to give torture to an animal. For instance, tearing a limb off of a live animal is strictly, absolutely, and completely forbidden. There are numerous laws in the Torah, such as a calf having to be with its mother for 7 days at a minimum. You're not allowed to take a calf or a baby goat away from its mother. And we know what's done in the milk industry today. When you had an animal that was threshing the grain, you weren't allowed to muzzle it because it wants to eat from the floor. To deny an animal from its natural tendencies is forbidden, meaning you have to be mindful of an animal. You're not allowed to abuse it. In today's time, we clearly know that animals are man's friends. In fact, the word kelev, which is dog, kelev means kelev, like the heart. That a dog mirrors our heart. So we know that animals are God's creations. We know from the story of Rav Judah that we must have compassion on them because they're God's creations. And all of God's creations need our compassion. And so King Solomon learned certain things from that. For instance, the ant. Go to the ant to learn how to be industrious, to be selfless, to be egoless, to work, to lift things that are heavier than your own body weight. From a cat, King Solomon learned certain things about discretion and privacy. So from all of the animals, we can learn certain characteristics, and we can certainly learn compassion.
Congregation Bet David is the first vegan synagogue or Jewish place of worship in America. The Reverend Rabbi Donn Gross also requests that the attending faithful leave their ego at the door. Let's find out more about this place.
Bet David is a very, very special place. And it's because people are honest about who they are. Many times in a religious environment, people like to pretend who they are and their abilities. And when you walk into a religious establishment, if somebody walks in for the first time, they can become intimidated and thinking that everyone knows more than they know. But here, what we do is there's a kindness and there's a non-pretension. And truly, the one rule is to check your ego outside, because ego is what separates us one from another. It also causes us to criticize, to judge one another. We're in an environment that there is no judgment. There's an acceptance and understanding of where people are at. When we approach and we relate to people without an ego, we allow them that space to walk at their own pace, to see things the way they need to see. And truly, in this world today, when everyone is judging and criticizing and angry one at another, if we would drop the ego and just allow people to be who they are and to understand and have compassion for them. So that's one of the very, very important things. From another standpoint, we are not only a spiritual congregation, we're interested in spiritual and physical health because the two are important. The two go together. That's what we are. We're a body and a spirit. So if you don't take care of one, the other is going to suffer. So the beautiful thing about a plant-based diet is that it is spiritually pure, it is physically pure, and it helps to cultivate both health. And that's what we really focus on at Beit David.
Rabbi Donn Gross will now share a joyful adventure of running a compassionate vegan business for the sake of his local community.
I married a vegetarian, and she was a very good cook, and I was very good at peeling potatoes and cleaning the kitchen, but I knew nothing about cooking, really nothing. In fact, when I first started cooking, I went down to the store. It was my first recipe that I was ever following. And I said, the recipe says 1 garlic And I said, does it refer, and I picked up a full garlic. Is it a full garlic? I didn't know what a clove of garlic was. You know, that's how little I knew about cooking when I first started. But then things started happening. I remember one Friday night I was sitting down to eat, and I was eating my meal, and I said, oh my gosh, this tastes good. I have to start sharing it with people. So slowly my repertoire started building, and I started building fans. People were coming to my Friday night dinners and enjoying it. And a dear friend said to me, Don, you must do this professionally. And she threatened me, you know, as a friend would threaten. And so 2.5 years ago, I started Meals to Heal Catering, where I provide plant-based meals. I deliver them, I cook them, I do everything. I'm the cook, the bottle washer, and the deliverer. And people have loved the food, they've gotten healthy from the food, and I do believe they've also gotten more spiritual from the food, but that they would have to confirm.
Music also plays a vital role in the Reverend's spiritual life, and he will now elaborate more on this passion.
Well, I was trained as a cantor. I went to cantorial school for 3.5 years. And I would say my first class was for a Friday night service. This is years ago, back when I was in Yeshiva University. And I didn't know that there was an exact way that the service was done. And it really fed me that there was an exactness. So in singing and in music, in Jewish music, there's an exactness, but there's also personal touch that you put on, the spirituality, the letting yourself go. It's the lack of the ego when you can sing and be drawn into the group and then be drawn out and just to allow your soul to soar. So you asked about one of my favorite happens to be the high holiday tunes or the motif. Now I'll sing it for you. When a person hears it, it snaps them into the moment, you know, because life is going. So it's that motif, and it's fun, it's spiritual, it's what I call spiritual playground, that we can play with our spirituality. And singing really allows us to do that, more than probably anything else.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
The Reverend Rabbi Donn Gross has another connection with spiritual veganism. He translated from Hebrew to English the famous spiritual and animal advocacy book, Belefanai Ever Hashalem, or In Front of the Blind. This book was written by Shining World Hero Award recipient, the Reverend Rabbi Asa Kaisar, vegan. The Reverend Rabbi Donn Gross has also made YouTube series detailing highlights of the book. He will share his noble aspirations next.
I made these videos not for somebody today, but in 5 years, when the idea of going plant-based becomes more popular, that somebody's going to look and search to see if it is in concert with Jewish beliefs. Many people believe that veganism is some new left-wing type of idea, whereas it really is very, very ancient and goes way back, 3,000 years into Jewish culture. So my hope is that people understand that it is very consistent. It is most consistent today, and if somebody truly wants to be kosher, then they have no choice but to eat a plant-based diet. I think that going vegan is a win-win-win It's good for the environment, it's good for animals, it's good for your health. And all of that feeds into it's good spiritually. I am Rabbi Donn Gross on Supreme Master TV. Go vegan and make peace.
We thank the Reverend Rabbi Donn Gross for sharing his wisdom about the connection between compassionate living and the Judaic faith. May people of every religion join to create an elevated vegan planet filled with love, peace, and harmony for all beings. For more information, please visit mealstohealcatering.com.
Go ahead and make war. Turn your own people against you.
Truth-seeking viewers, we hope you have enjoyed our show today on vegan and religion. Coming up next is Timeless Jew of the Sierra Nevada, Yosemite National Park, Part 1 of 2, right after noteworthy news. May God protect and guide followers of all faiths to a vegan paradise.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/VR.
Nos programmes offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule et suprememastertv.com/VR.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule и suprememastertv.com/VR.
Наши программы предлагают много языков. Пожалуйста, посмотрите suprememastertv.com/schedule и suprememastertv.com/VR.